Hey everyone, welcome back to Manga Minute. I'm thrilled to share my latest recap video with you. If you missed the previous one, no worries, just take a quick peek in the description below for the link. Now, let's dive right in and enjoy.
The convoy stood tense, facing Lu Ju, who mockingly addressed them. "Ah, so you're the last strength the Lotus Valley song family has to offer. Impressive, even in emergencies, you all move so swiftly. Quick on your feet." Jinwoo stepped forward, demanding to know Lu Ju's identity, but Lu Ju only offered his name without further explanation. A grim expression crossed Jinwoo's face as he gripped his sword tighter, ready to demand answers through force if necessary. Lu Ju, with a teasing tone, suggested they part ways if Jinwoo handed over his weapon. Song Gae-eon, realizing their true intentions, quickly intervened, claiming she did not possess the Red Dragon Divine Sword at the moment. Lu Ju, unfazed, declared they would have to kill everyone to confirm her claim. Jinwoo assessed the situation, noting their enemy's strength and the unseen reinforcements likely lying in wait. He knew the odds were not in their favor and silently urged Song Gae-eon to escape while she could. Lowering her head, she despaired at the thought of losing both the sword and Jinwoo, seeing no hope in such an outcome. Jinwoo, determined, urged her not to give up, hinting at a potential ally. Song Gae-eon, however, refused to pass the responsibility onto outsiders, unable to bear witnessing another tragedy. Their whispered exchange was cut short by Lu Ju, who coldly assured them they would likely die together anyway and ordered his men to attack. As the enemies advanced, Jinwoo commanded his group to block them, bracing for the imminent clash. The air was thick with tension, and the outcome uncertain as both sides prepared for battle. From the sidelines, Song Gae-eon watched the clash with a heavy heart. "Ugh, I haven't even found out who killed my father, and now this," she lamented. Jinwoo, locked in combat, noted how his men were being pushed back. "Their skills surpass ours. We're losing ground fast," he pondered, realizing the dire situation. Lu Ju, effortlessly overpowering Jinwoo's men, mocked, "So much for a famous feast with no food. The much-praised Song family is this weak, huh?" Outnumbered and struggling to keep up, Jinwoo was unable to defend against a swift strike, and a sword pierced his chest. Seeing this, Song Gae-eon dismounted her horse in a panic, shouting, Jinwoo!" Lu Ju seized the opportunity, grabbing Song Gae-eon as a hostage to force Jinwoo's surrender. "Young lady!" Jinwoo shouted, his voice filled with desperation as he saw her captured. The situation grew more perilous with each passing moment. Seeing the enraged Jinwoo, Lu Ju mocked him, saying that a wounded wolf becomes even more ferocious. He then ordered his men to close in slowly, confident that time was on their side. Pinning down Song Gae-eon with his hand, Lu Ju demanded to know the whereabouts of the sword. However, Song Gae-eon remained silent, her lips tightly sealed. Lu Ju taunted her, suggesting she had left the sword at home. In response, Song Gae-eon mockingly threatened that showing his face in her family's territory would be his last mistake. Lu Ju, unfazed, acknowledged that she trusted someone capable of thwarting his plans, revealing his frustration that his secret weapon remained dormant because of that person. Hearing this, Song Gae-eon pondered inwardly, wondering if Kong Mujiak had stopped them without her knowledge. With an authoritative tone, Lu Ju commanded his men to finish Jinwoo. Without hesitation, they swiftly swung their swords towards the defenseless Jinwoo. At that critical moment, Kong Mujiak arrived just in time to rescue Jinwoo from his doom. Greeting Song Gae-eon, Mujiak exclaimed, apologizing for his tardiness. Seeing the aftermath of the battle, Mujiak murmured regretfully, "I should have been with you from the start." He extended his hand towards Jinwoo, asking if he could stand. Jinwoo, determined despite his injuries, replied firmly, "Of course, I'm not down for the count yet." However, as Jinwoo attempted to stand, he suddenly coughed up blood. Realizing his condition was worsening, Jinwoo urged Mujiak, "Take her and run, please." Mujiak reassured him with conviction. "Those scum should be the ones running." With a worried expression, Jinwoo insisted, "Now's not the time for bravery. We have to save her." Preparing himself to face the remaining enemies, Mujiak declared. Hang in there. I'll finish this quickly. Summoning his last reserves of strength, Jinwoo whispered desperately. I've already messed up. Please, take good care of her. Mujiak promised solemnly. I'll do my best, so rest easy. With those words of assurance, Jinwoo collapsed, his strength finally spent. Seeing Mujiak arrive, Lu Ju exclaimed, You're the one who tampered with the shadows? Ignoring Lu Ju's remark, Mujiak murmured to himself. Seems like persuasion's off the table now. If that's the case, I've got my own promises to keep. Lu Ju snapped. Don't you realize the situation's completely different now? Mujiak remained calm, his demeanor relaxed as he asserted, It's different because I'll make it different. With a mocking expression, Lu Ju fired back. You're amusing, aren't you? Clutching his fist, Mujiak replied sternly. Let me show you what's truly laughable. Lu Ju, frustrated, ordered his men. How much longer will you entertain his nonsense? Responding swiftly, Lu Ju's men charged towards Mujiak, attacking him with their numbers. Despite being outnumbered, Mujiak stood his ground with effortless grace, confronting each assailant and swiftly taking them down one by one. His skill and determination were evident as he turned the tide of the battle in favor of Jinwoo's group. Observing the sudden turn of events, Lu Ju's eyes widened in shock. What happened? I couldn't see. Meanwhile, Mujiak moved with incredible speed and precision, his fists striking with force that sent their enemies flying, scattering them across the battleground. Seeing his men overwhelmed, Lu Ju trembled in disbelief. What on earth is happening? In a desperate move, he resorted to pointing his sword at Song Gyeon, threatening her life to halt Mujiak's onslaught. Stop there. Stop right now or her life's forfeit. If you want to save her, you best stop your tricks. Maintaining a calm demeanor amid the chaos, Mujiak responded, Taking her as a hostage? Suddenly, I'm reminded of something my master once told me. Exclaimed, Master, why are you so fixated on unarmed combat? His master responded, What do you mean? Mujiak pressed on. Wouldn't using a sword like Master Hyukno make it easier to defeat enemies? Wouldn't wielding a weapon be quicker and more efficient? His master reflected, You've seen his skill with the blade? Certainly, weapons like swords can offer efficient attacks. But unless you master it as an extension of your own body, you can't reach the pinnacle of martial prowess. So, wouldn't it be better to focus on unarmed combat from the start? Recalling his master's advice, Mujiak murmured to himself, My master told me that the ultimate form can only be achieved when you're unarmed. Lu Ju, growing impatient, urged, What are you rambling about all of a sudden? Mujiak muttered in reply, I didn't get it at the time either. He stretched his back casually and continued, Yeah, you wouldn't get it, but recently after learning to use formless projectile, I understood why my master said that. Growing more agitated, Lu Ju snapped, You're trying to buy time, huh? Smirking confidently, Mujiak exclaimed, Well, we'll see about that. If it works, though, it'll be fast. His expression turned grim as he added, It's real fast, to be precise. After releasing a powerful energy towards Lu Ju, the trembling man hastily threatened, Stop right there! But before he could react further, something struck him in a blink of an eye, sending him flying backwards. Simultaneously, Song Gyeon was swiftly rescued from his grasp. Looking down at the fallen Lu Ju, Mujiak remarked, Seems like the intangible bullet worked well, didn't it? Fortunately, he's not dead yet. With sins so great, death would be too easy, don't you think? Inquiring further into Lu Ju's state, Mujiak asked, Feeling remorse now? Lu Ju mockingly responded through strained breaths. Remorse? Ha ha ha. In the end, we win again. Yes, coming here was your mistake. Mujiak pressed on. Why? Preparing another trap. Revealing their cunning plan, Lu Ju continued. From the start, your arrival here was the trap. Now, since you've abandoned your home, it's time to pay the price. As they returned to the Song family residence, Mujiak was shocked to find it devastated, reduced to rubble and ruin. Amidst the wreckage, he discovered a survivor and urgently asked, What happened? Despite his wounds, the survivor managed to explain. After Kong Mujiak left, they suddenly invaded. Pressing for more information, Mujiak asked, "Who are they?" Struggling to respond, the man gasped, "Don't know. Only that they came seeking the venerable founder." Song Geun, witnessing the survivor's condition, intervened quickly. "Stop. Don't say any more. You mustn't push yourself." Seeing Song Geun, the man expressed relief. "Thankfully you're safe. Please, rebuild the Song family." With those words, he passed away from his wounds. Song Geun, overcome with sorrow, shouted tearfully, "No! You can't go. You can't." Surveying the aftermath of the battle and the destroyed home, Mujiak reflected bitterly. It was just a few moments ago. With determination in his voice, he continued, "From now on, this is no longer your concern, but mine." He resolved to take up the responsibility of rebuilding and seeking justice for the Song family. Poga remarked thoughtfully, "Anger makes one strong." Mujiak retorted, "So, that's why you frequently lose your temper?" Poga chuckled dismissively. That's not because I'm truly angry. Maybe you think so because you saw the founder go wild like a mad dog." Curious, Mujiak asked, "Then what do you do when angry?" Poga explained, "Anger does indeed make one strong, but it's also a double-edged sword that creates vulnerabilities. That's why when I'm truly angry, I become even calmer and more rational." Surprised by this revelation, Mujiak inquired further, "You become calmer and more rational?" Poga nodded. "Yes. To eliminate the weaknesses of anger and only utilize the strength, one must have restraint. It's the anger of detachment. Everyone experiences genuine anger at some point. You will too. When that time comes, if used properly, it can become a powerful weapon." Recalling his master's teachings, Mujiak pondered deeply. The master's frequent scolding and tormenting are like practice for that moment. Now I understand a bit of what the founder was saying. If I hadn't learned this from the master, I wouldn't know how to control this rising anger. He realized the importance of mastering his emotions, both for personal growth and strategic advantage. The guard, eyeing Mujiak suspiciously, inquired, "Doesn't seem like you came here to drink. What brings you?" Mujiak met the guard's gaze evenly and replied, "I came to see Lu Ju." His tone conveyed a sense of purpose, suggesting that his visit was not mere chance but a deliberate action. Jolted awake from his restless sleep, Choi Young struggled to catch his breath as memories of his recent battle mistakes flooded his mind. Suddenly, a guard burst into the room, startled to find Choi Young awake. Anxious to know how long he had been unconscious, Choi Young demanded answers. The guard informed him that it had been 2 days since he had been incapacitated. Murmuring to himself in disbelief, Choi Young realized the miraculous fortune of still being alive after such a time. His thoughts turned immediately to the Grandmaster and the mission they had been on. Learning that the Grandmaster was with Lu Ju and that the mission had been successfully completed with the retrieval of the sword, Choi Young was surprised to hear that the Grandmaster had personally accomplished the task. However, his relief was tempered by the news of the Vice-Master's fate. Determined to speak with the Grandmaster without delay, Choi Young insisted on leaving his bed despite his weakened state. The guard hesitated, concerned for Choi Young's health, but Choi Young's urgency was unwavering. He scolded the guard to step aside, intent on meeting the Grandmaster immediately. As Choi Young walked purposefully towards his Grandmaster, his mind raced with urgency. He knew that the Grandmaster must not come into contact with that fiend. There was a pressing need to expose the true identity of this monstrous individual for the sake of their cause and safety. Reviewing their mission, the man addressed as Grandmaster murmured with a hint of concern, "We've lost more men than expected. Nevertheless, we've fulfilled the Heavenly Master's command, easing our minds." Turning to the lady beside him, the Grandmaster acknowledged her efforts, saying, "Your contributions were significant." The lady modestly replied, "It was nothing. What have I really done?" The Grandmaster then asked, "Are we ready to depart?" The lady confirmed, "Yes, we can set off in half an hour." The Grandmaster posed a thoughtful question. "Ever wondered why the Heavenly Master wants the sword?" The lady pondered aloud. "Honestly, yes. Why does he want a broken sword?" Continuing, the Grandmaster revealed, "You'll be formally operating in the main team. I'll share the secret of this sword with you." Surprised, the lady exclaimed, "The secret of the sword?" The Grandmaster elaborated, "Have you heard of the Absolute Trinity?" The lady replied confidently, "Yes, I have. About 70 years ago, the three most powerful figures in the martial world were termed the Absolute Trinity. There were silent acknowledgments of their varying strengths. Tusin, Sword Emperor, and Taoist Master were their titles. The Sword Emperor of the Absolute Trinity was acclaimed as the world's greatest swordsman in his time. It said he was discerning in choosing his swords. The Heavenly Master has long been researching the Sword Emperor. He collected and meticulously studied the swords he used. Through this, he discovered secrets concealed within the swords used by the Sword Emperor. Each sword used by the Sword Emperor contained the essence of his martial arts techniques at the time. The Sword Emperor was a martial artist who continued to grow until his last moment, embedding his realizations into the swords. Unfortunately, once someone perceives the techniques and wisdom within the sword, it becomes ordinary again. So as the swords were passed down through generations, they gradually became brittle and lost their power. There is one sword that the Sword Emperor used just before he left this world. Its length is 6 feet and 7 inches, and the blade is red, but its color changes depending on the user, and it's a magical sword with varying powers depending on the user. That's the Red Dragon Divine Sword. Seeing the broken sword, the Grandmaster continued thoughtfully. Of course, as the sword has been broken, someone might have already obtained the martial arts left by the Sword Emperor. But who knows if there's something might still be left? The lady responded with curiosity. "So that's why you've wanted the sword so much. Does the one in the Ilwan Sword Arena also know about this?" The Grandmaster replied, "Probably only to the extent that there's some secret hidden in the Red Dragon Divine Sword." Taken aback, the lady exclaimed, "Then, what if?" The Grandmaster reassured her, "Worry not, the traitor has already been dealt with." Suddenly, a voice interrupted from outside the room, urgently demanding to see the Grandmaster. It was Choi Young, arriving with a sense of urgency. As Choi Young entered with urgent news, the Grandmaster greeted him, only to be interrupted mid-sentence. Choi Young tried to convey important information about someone who had blocked their path. But before he could finish, Mujiak burst into the room, causing chaos as he swiftly neutralized everyone inside the building. Seeing Mujiak approach, the Grandmaster wondered if he was the one responsible for orchestrating the interference they had encountered. Reacting to the disturbance, the lady present warned about causing commotion in their location. As Mujiak drew nearer, the Grandmaster recognized him as the man he had encountered previously. He quickly asked if Mujiak had come to see him. Mujiak responded calmly, stating that if the Grandmaster was behind the recent events, he had come to confront him. Realizing the room was too confined for such a discussion, the Grandmaster suggested moving outside, to which Mujiak agreed. Outside, the Grandmaster's followers surrounded Mujiak, but he remained composed. The Grandmaster taunted him mockingly for gathering so many loyalists without invitation. In response, Mujiak calmly advised those present to retreat if they valued their lives. The Grandmaster scoffed at the suggestion that Mujiak could handle them alone, but Mujiak smirked confidently, hinting at his prowess when provoked. The Grandmaster exclaimed firmly, "We need to clear up some misunderstandings first. I explicitly asked you to retrieve my sword. You failed, so I had to take matters into my own hands." Mujiak replied with disdain, "Misunderstandings? It was never yours in the first place." The Grandmaster scoffed. "Of course, but neither does it belong to her. The Red Dragon Divine Sword doesn't belong to anyone. Isn't the holder its rightful owner?" Mujiak remarked sharply, "Out of everyone I've met recently, you're the most devious." The Grandmaster smirked confidently. "Devious? How naive." With a grim expression, Mujiak warned, "I gave you a chance, but you spurned it. No use regretting now." An enraged warrior interjected, "Madman, you think you can take us all on?" Another warrior chimed in ominously, "Seems you have a death wish." Seeing the tension escalate, Choi Young reflected inwardly, No, no. He's not someone we can outnumber. The gravity of Mujiak's presence and resolve was becoming clearer to everyone present. Mujiak stood poised for confrontation, his hand clenched tightly as a potent dark aura radiated from his grasp. Witnessing this, the Grandmaster exclaimed in shock. A mage? Don't tell me he's from the dark arts. Ready for battle, Mujiak delivered his final warning with conviction. If you're deserving of death, having committed a crime, then you shall face it. For years ago, the day he first achieved the 5th level of harmonized heart technique, called annihilation, his master's voice resonated with solemnity. Power without righteousness inevitably attracts malevolent energy. That's the essence of the 5th level annihilation. So, annihilation is not a martial art to be used against humans. Confused, Mujiak sought clarification. So, it's meant for hunting beasts? His master scolded sharply. How dare you? You'd use the harmonized heart technique on mere animals. Mujiak responded, realizing his mistake. Then when should I use it? His master explained patiently. It's a technique to use against those who've lost their humanity. Seeking further understanding, Mujiak asked, how do you know if they've lost it? His master's voice grew grave. You can tell. Those less than beasts have a distinct stench. If you encounter such scum, use annihilation to bring out justice. The gravity of his master's words sank deep, guiding Mujiak's understanding of when to wield such formidable power. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered and rain poured down relentlessly. Observing the downpour, the Grandmaster wondered aloud. Why is it suddenly raining? Meanwhile, Mujiak, prepared with his powerful annihilation technique, charged toward the mobs of enemies. With each swing of his fist, he sent them flying, overwhelming them with his battle prowess. The enemies were caught off guard, unable to react in time to defend themselves. Witnessing the unfolding battle in shock, the Grandmaster muttered to himself, What is that? This is unbelievable. Struggling to maintain his ground, Choi Young realized with dread. It's what I feared. He rushed towards Mujiak, shouting, Get out of the way. I'll handle this. Despite Choi Young's determination to defeat Mujiak, he couldn't land a single blow and was swiftly incapacitated. Seeing his men fall before Mujiak's might, the Grandmaster deliberated inwardly. Keep calm. Even if I run now, I can't escape responsibility. No matter how monstrous he seems, there has to be a way. Pointing his sword towards Mujiak, the Grandmaster declared defiantly, I'm different. Mujiak scoffed. I bet. I'll kill you in a special way. We'll see about that, the Grandmaster replied confidently. He launched his attack, spinning the tip of his sword to create an air barrier with incredible speed. The moment you dodge this sword strike, my true attack will be unleashed. However, despite the Grandmaster's formidable sword technique and his confidence in victory, Mujiak effortlessly broke through his defense and swiftly retaliated, turning the tide of battle in his favor. Pushed back by the relentless onslaught of Mujiak's attacks, the Grandmaster found himself in disbelief. His defenses, honed through years of training and mastery, were crumbling under the overwhelming force of Mujiak's blows. Each punch landed with precision and power, leaving the Grandmaster struggling to comprehend the speed and ferocity of his opponent. Mujiak, fueled by his resolve and formidable skills, pressed on without mercy. His strikes were calculated and relentless, driving the Grandmaster further into a defensive position with each passing moment. There was no opportunity for the Grandmaster to mount a counterattack or regroup. He was simply outmatched. As the battle unfolded, the warriors who had followed the Grandmaster into battle could only watch in horror. Seeing their revered leader being beaten so decisively, they pleaded for mercy, hoping to escape the wrath of Mujiak's fury. But Mujiak, consumed by a dark determination, showed no mercy. His expression twisted into a sinister glare as he declared that they had forfeited their humanity by their actions. To him, there was no redemption for those who had chosen to stand against him. In the aftermath of the brutal confrontation, the once formidable warriors now knelt in defeat, their spirits broken and their hopes dashed. Mujiak stood victorious, a testament to his unparalleled skill and the depths of his resolve.